Welcome to Flowers and Tea, where the ladies lead the conversation on politics, pot, and policy. Thank you to our sponsor, Ascend, for making this possible. And today we are in my dispensary, the Other Side Dispensary, located in Jersey City. And I would totally call it my baby, but you know, not even my baby that I have in real life gives me this many goddamn problems. But as we speak of problems, we're going to jump right into our episode with our lovely, esteemed co-host. And Jasmine, I know you just came all the way from Florida. Yeah. Talking about problems. I want to know what's going on down there, because I heard they're trying to get it back on the ballot.
Yeah. Cannabis is officially on the ballot. This came after Smart and Safe sued DeSantis. They ended up dropping it because we have it on the ballot now. So
nice.
A little force makes it happen, but still crazy in Florida.
I mean, but we've been talking about some of the turbulence that you've been having with shifting your model. How does this make you feel now? Do you feel like there's going to be success?
We've all been looking forward to adult use. We think that it opens up the market. On our side, we're very happy because one of the other things that has shaped out is we had an active appeal with the state, and we found out yesterday that we'll be awarded our original license that we applied for under Green Essence, Florida.
Yes.
So as the market shifts, it has shifted. The tables have finally turned in our favor. Yes. So it was a great call yesterday with our appeal attorney. We are one of 7 that will receive the additional license that the state has granted. Thank God.
That is amazing.
With the hemp blow, that was a gut punch, but we're now back on our original track.
Okay. Yeah. So, but that still means that now you'll be medical, but adult use if this passes.
If it passes, and I think what was the big issue during the last election cycle was there was a lot of conflicting messages. I had gotten personal phone calls asking, should I vote yes? Should I vote no? We had ads stating old cannabis propaganda. And I think with the lawsuit that was just pulled against DeSantis, it's now saying, hey, you get a little grace and forgiveness there. But hopefully that stops this next wave of propaganda that could potentially come out and confuse people. With us being shy 2.5%, this is a great opportunity for us finally to progress with adult use. We know Florida's going to be a big state. It's what many of the operators have been preparing for, and now we are going to be pushing this well on the ground to make sure that there's education and people don't get confused with the messaging this time.
Jasmine, how has the language changed this time around? Because wasn't that a big complaint?
Yes, the language was definitely ambiguous. You didn't know which way to really vote on it. I think Smart and Safe, they're doing a better job of making it a little more clear. But a bigger portion of that, again, was like the radio advertisements, the articles that were coming out. It didn't help with the lack of clarity on the amendment either. So it's a little better, but
is there a concern that this is a midterm election and there ain't going to be the voter turnout that you need to get the 60%?
I don't think so. It was a big deal the first time around, and I do think it was because it was a greater ability to pull people in. But now with the amount of money raised and the groups that have interest, I think what we'll see this time, many of us, I think, sat back a bit while True Leaf cut the trees down. Mm-hmm. But this time, I think we all got our axes and we realized, okay, I may not have that machinery, but I can at least chop 1 or 2 trees down. And I think that energy has shifted completely. We all were like, wow, $100 and something million. What can my $5 do? Now we know, put your $5 in. Put your $5 on the table. So, yeah. A lot of small efforts going to be pushing and getting local communities involved to get this over the hill.
Yeah, and I think that's really where we are now with progress. And, you know, we spoke about that in one of our episodes about just our effort here, right? Wanda's running for Congress. Everybody's sort of figuring out ways to come out of the silo, band together, put their voices together, and you know, we got maybe not $5, maybe a $10 effort over here, you know, but we gonna do it.
15 on it, 15. Right. No, we're excited. It's a lot of energy buzzing around. There are people coming from different angles. Like I said, I'm sure DeSantis didn't see that blow coming with the lawsuit. I mean, he probably should have, but it was dismissed, thankfully, and hopefully he doesn't fight even harder to disrupt this progress that Florida so desperately.
Well, we will keep our fingers crossed. And as we continue on with some of our predictions, right, because I think everyone sort of loves the end of the year predictions, and we had a lot of things people predicted would happen this year. I remember you and I spoke, and you were like, it's happening at the end of the year. I talked to the people. They know it's coming.
They lie.
Here the fuck we are. What are some predictions that you guys all have for 2026 that you think is going to maybe happen?
All right. To defend my stance, cannabis always ends up at the bottom of the pile. And we had some good momentum this summer. And then we ran into the death of Charlie Kirk. We had peace in the Middle East. We had a government shutdown. The government shutdown really screwed us because that really slowed down the clock on a lot of things in Washington. So my prediction, I will go out there and maybe put money on this. I'm saying Q1, there will be reform coming from the administration on rescheduling. Okay. And I think from the folks that I've talked to on the hemp side, the only way forward for this plant is one plant, one set of rules. So I think we will see somehow, they're trying to figure out how they're going to tie in hemp with rescheduling and try and come up with something that is actually sustainable. Because they understand that the two pathways are not working. There's been such an outcry from people to Washington about the hemp ban that they're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should try and fix this. Right. So I think you're going to see some action in the next few months to try and give the industry some relief. But we'll see.
What do you think?
So I see $2,000 checks coming. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go, President Trump. I see the president actually following through on what he says. He's making sure that the administration is preparing to make sure those tariffs that we have all endured go back to the benefit of American citizens. So I look forward to my $2,000 per individual stimulus check in 2026.
Along with her light bill and energy bill reduced on day one.
Day one. Light bills done, energy resolved, checks, $2,000, 2026. Here we go.
Do what you think.
Honestly, so this is a prediction, but it's also like my solemn hope, right? That I feel like with the change in a lot of the leadership that we've seen across the nation, I feel an energy, a momentum, a groundswell of people who are trying to come together and like be more collaborative in the way that we're thinking about moving things forward. So my hope for 2026 and my prediction is that you are going to see more and more groups of people who you thought were not going to be coming together to push our bottom lines, right? We're never going to agree on everything, but I see, like Jasmine, to your point, right? Like, okay, some of the trees are cut down, like some work has already been done to like pave the way on a variety of different things. But I really see people being like, all right, we got to get serious and we got to like focus on the bottom line. So I think that's what we're going to see in 2026. Yeah. I hope.
I second that. I also second, just personally, us receiving our license finally after this 8-year journey in 2026. I see adult use for Florida. And I see the same thing. I see groups coming together for the betterment of the whole, and hopefully now at the realm are researchers, educators, doctors, so we can really get this one plant down. Yes. Can someone who's educated explain to the people it is one plant? That is what I'm hoping happens.
Right. So listen, we're bringing in all of these conversations because cannabis is so nuanced and there's so many different aspects to it that it needs to be weaved together. We talk about that a lot, Dee, right? Yeah. About like all the different nuance.
That's it. Like, and I feel like our conversations are always about like the big sound bites, the big narratives, these big overarching concepts, and we're not really drilling down into the intricacies of what they actually mean. So that's why, I was excited for this podcast because I'm like, with the level of knowledge we have on this team here, we're going to get into the nuance. We're going to help you break down and understand like what each one of these things mean. And then also too, it will allow us, I hope, to be able to talk to the industry at large and help them to see some nuance. So it's one of the things that's needed. We can't rely on narratives. We can't rely on sound bites. It is intellectually lazy. Okay.
Agreed.
And emotionally unintelligent. Yes. We got to get into the nitty gritty. We can't blanket things.
Right. And we were talking offline about, one of the new bills that came up here in New Jersey. And for me, I just was processing the nuance in it and just trying to understand lobbying, advocacy, bills, just the depth of it. And, G, you've been awesome on my political knowledge endeavor to like really listen. I'm coming at this as like my level of knowledge is I was a voter. I would just vote for the president, maybe vote locally, and that's it. But when we talk about these bills, and really, I just want to reflect now on the hemp bill. This bill was about the government shutdown.
Right.
It really had nothing to do with cannabis or hemp or the plant. And then there's a small piece that's thrown into it that is like, well, what does that have to do with this? And then the population at large has no idea because they never read the bills, right? So now it just kind of gets thrown in there. So I'm seeing something happen sort of here in New Jersey. We have a bill that's coming up. It's called SCORE. And in that bill, it's about the enforcement of our industry here, but then there's other components in it that talk about the ethics component of it and a few other nuance. And what I just don't understand is, why can't those be separate bills? Right? Because when you have the people on this side that are for that aspect, maybe the enforcement, then you have some people that are not for or for the other aspect, which would be the ethics component. And listen, there's layers to this bill. I'm just pulling out two pieces of it that could really represent two separate bills. Yeah. You then bring it to the people, and now you have what Wanda was talking about. You gave them too many options. Now people are, these people don't agree with this, these people don't agree with that, and now we get nothing.
Yep. That's it.
Do you want the real answer?
I just want to know why. Yeah, why do they do that like that?
Because if they didn't, nothing would ever get passed. So if you broke everything up into these little piecemeal, this project, that project, then people would actually have to take a stance. Lawmakers would have to say, yes, I'm for that, which they don't want to. So they just throw it all in, like a Christmas tree. You just throw a lot of shit in there, decorate it all, and then it's like, oh, well, I'm voting, but because I can't say no to this. So, like, I'm voting to reopen the government. I'm not voting to ban hemp. That would be their thing.
Right.
So, that's how it goes.
But then it becomes one of those, like, oh, well,
and this also happens a lot on appropriations bills, which is what basically reopening the government was as a CR. Right. It's just about money. When you do those are always renewed constantly, so they can always be altered. And
that the CR, that is the continuing resolution, right?
Because we did not pass a budget yet.
Okay. Can you explain what a continuing resolution is?
So they're just Band-Aids, good old political Band-Aids that they keep putting on things to keep things like the government funded because they haven't figured out actual bills. So like the hemp ban fell into a bunch of other language that kept various agricultural programs funded because we didn't pass a farm bill. So there's nothing passed in the House, nothing passed in the Senate for the farm bill. Everyone's like, where's the 2025 farm bill? Oh, doesn't exist. I mean, technically, it should have been 2023 farm bill because they're only for 5 years.
Correct.
And then they just kept continuing. Yeah.
Play the song, I'm just a bill.
So if I get this correctly, if you have your business, I just want to break it down for the people a little bit more simply. If you have a business and you come up on the new year, which this is exactly what's happening right now, so in January, and I say, okay, I know that my operational expenses for my business is $500,000 a year. He's $500,000, and then we'll work through the rest. But instead of doing that, I'm saying, let me go to my savings for this month and get $5,000, and then the next month comes and I go run back to my savings and get another $5,000, and that we just pump it that way, just month by.
Pretty much.
Piecemeal it together.
Whew, that is a stressful way to govern.
Yes.
What are you ladies thinking about this bill? Have either of you read it? Any of you read it?
Definitely read it. I think it's going to have some unintended consequences. We already have mechanisms within New Jersey government to really look at enforcement, to really look at ethics review. We don't need a separate bill that really silos and isolates and really calls for the dismantling of the commission in its entirety. Putting it back under a law enforcement agency who does not have the current capacity or recruitment, and putting it under the AG's office is not the way to go. I think currently there needs to be reform. There needs to be continued business acumen. But what's very troublesome is that the leadership has sat on the sideline for the last 4 years, not connected with the industry, but in a very patriarchal or matriarchal way is kind of writing the road of what the industry roadmap looks like without real engagement. Right. So, it's troublesome that these competitive bills, because there's multiple bills that are afoot right now. So I would say to our legislators with great intention, please engage with the industry. Right. Start talking to the industry and the leadership about what we need for New Jersey, because I think that's going to be the best pathway forward, that everyone collaborates to get something reformed. We have a hemp ban. Let's act on it.
Right.
We have a federal hemp ban. That is held off for 360 days?
Yeah, they have the year to figure it out and sell their products, and then everything's banned. Yes.
And do you think that there's going to be some reconciliation between that time for calm minds or reasonable minds to come together? Because again, you're dismantling a whole industry.
95%.
And again, one plant, one sound, one vibe. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, there is hope. There's talk around Washington of coming together and trying to figure out a solution for this. Some are actually, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I get it. They're looking to try and get Congress to extend it another year. So 2 years before this would go into effect, to give them more time to try and deal with coming up with the proper language. I'd rather they just do it now.
Just deal with the problem.
Stop kicking it
I
down the
never want to
road.
deal with the
It's
problem.
like-
Midterms or next year, and no one wants to make a determination under a midterm year that may be like a foreboding. What are we calling it? A potential landslide or?
Sure, I could see that, but we talk about education and the messaging. We got to get people away from Save the Children. I'm sorry, this is not a Save the Children issue.
Agreed.
Right.
Let's feed
If
the
a child
children.
is getting access to these products, that's a parenting issue.
Absolutely.
It's not a Save the Children issue.
Right.
You need to get into trademark infringement for all these companies that are stealing Doritos, Skittles, whatever bullshit they're doing,
Oh,
Yeah.
and actually go after these people.
concurrently agreed.
I mean, it's insane. Politicians look at cannabis as the morality police.
Yeah.
They need to be looking at it as a business
Yeah.
and looking at it for making laws for any other type of business.
And then maybe assemble an advisory board of all of the conflicting opinions. I'll put them all in the room at a table, round table. When you guys propose something to us, everyone who's interested, you have the chance to get on this round table and you all help propose and educate it. I think the issue is that you have one group go in on Monday. Another one come in on Tuesday. By Friday, you are so confused versus saying, everybody who came, I see y'all, 23 of y'all. I need y'all
23 ideas, 23 opinions.
come together, sit down. I just don't understand why can't we put minds in a room to help our elected officials come to these decisions versus just put it all on them. I'll just give you a bunch of information independently with my independent group so that you just have this one basis of an opinion.
Don't get me started, Jasmine.
We're working on it. There's a lot of
Get me
egos in
started.
the room.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to that. There's a lot of egos. People have to want to learn, as Ricky has once said, right? Ricky Williams said, you have to have people in the room who want to actually know and understand and be committed to it. But when we talk about the nuance, it's not even just the industry stakeholders. Cannabis has so many stakeholders. Like, if you're going to bring in enforcement, listen, you know, I came from the law enforcement world. There has been times where you get a mission thrown on you and you're like, I didn't know this was coming down the pipeline. I didn't know this was my responsibility. Like, the police department, the state police department might not even want this.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Have we even talked to them?
Florida came down.
Mind the
Florida,
fact that it's triggering.
yeah,
Yeah.
Florida has come
That's
down
the-
hard. They
So
are
let
already
it make
closing them
sense.
down. Yep,
Let's do
shutting them down.
legalization because of the over-incarceration of disparate communities, and let's put it right back to the
This is what I'm
Like,
saying,
what?
Suzanne. I'm like,
What?
I am triggered.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't
what?
make it make
Whose
sense.
idea was that?
Yeah.
Someone who's disconnected
Completely.
with good intention, because my mother always says you have to come from grace, with great intention, but so misguided.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's
It is.
what I'm saying.
That's
It's a
Gretchen, let 'em
slippery
know.
slope for a lot of people.
Well,
Let them
I
know.
think it's a lot of money to be made off of confusion. I think it's a money grab, personally. I think this next year is going to be a ton of money going and flowing. I think Truly is going to come out of pocket again. Sorry, Truly.
go.
Sorry, Truly. Sorry, Kim. But we be rooting for you. I'm going to buy something from
right.
Truly because I think a lot of money is going to come out again on both sides. And it's going to be a quick money grab, and we're going to get set some new laws, but it's going to be based off of funds, not education, not intention. And that is what is unfortunate about our government. Until we remove that part, which obviously money, cash rules everything. Okay, sorry.
So,
Well, and I just want to make one point to all these crowds coming together.
Great.
My biggest concern from what I've seen in Washington is it's the True Leaves, the Crescos, the Cura Leaves, those folks who can afford to show up, who are going to take care of themselves. And I understand that. So the industry, the smaller operators, the single dispensary owners like yourself need to join associations, other groups, so their voices are also heard. Because that just drives me nuts. Because I think so many, when they come there, are, of course, taking care of themselves. They're not lobbying for the industry. They're lobbying for their business. This industry focuses too much
I would
on
actually-
tomorrow instead of 10 years down the road.
I would disagree.
Okay.
I was a part of NCR.
Let's do this.
I've been a part of NCR, not the new part of the USSR.
Yeah.
But I work with Charlie. I work with leadership. I met with Kim. We lobbied. I think that is what was needed. And we had meetings of unison. What is currently happening is that DEI became unpopular. And you saw across the board people step away from their commitments to minority-based small business operators.
Yes.
So before, there was more collaboration, and companies are still reaching back. Ascend is at this table along with some other great operators in this space.
Yes.
But again, people follow the crowd like sheep. So when DEI wasn't cool,
Yep.
That's right.
we were dumped by the wayside, many of us.
Yep.
So again, and we didn't say, okay, well, we don't have a ball anymore. We continue to create our own voice. We continue to go and lobby.
Yeah.
And what happened is
you.
we then showed up before their meetings.
Yep.
And then what a dichotomy it was. Well, why are you all not together? Because currently DEI is not popular.
Yep.
Come on.
So
Yep.
because of that, we no longer caucus or collaborate. I'm hoping that our colleagues hear this message and are looking for more unison in
Right.
2026.
Come on.
Because again, as I told the former Speaker of the House, currently Senator Schumer, what happens if Armageddon happens with legislation? What if we lose the presidency, House, and Senate? Where are we at with cannabis legislation? We had the ball and we continue to drop it.
Yep. Because he would
We
not
need
present that.
leadership to
Yep.
put a vote on the floor,
Yep.
let the vote be heard, and let's move along.
Yeah.
But if we don't have leadership, and that's where our voices matter in 2026,
Yep.
holding our leadership accountable
Right.
for this
Yes.
debacle.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't want people to be left behind, and I
Right.
think that
Agreed.
is something I fear greatly in this space.
But
Yeah.
I think a big part of how we got here, though, is the divisiveness amongst marijuana and hemp. Because when we were on the same page of let's just get some type of regulation behind cannabis, we got it. We got it through the Farm Bill. And then we started fighting each other. And our fight amongst each other got us back here.
Yes.
So
And that
that's
is
a
the
big
point,
issue.
right? Where it's like, we have to figure out, like, you're never going to agree on everything. And this is one of the things that I've talked about a lot, right? Is like, you don't even agree with your partner on everything. Like, you don't even agree with, like, the people in your life who you love dearly on everything. We're not going to agree on everything, but we have to move as a unit. We have to move as an industry. We have to be able to give and take certain things. There are going to be things that small operators need. We got to take those into consideration. There are going to be things that big operators need. We're going to need to take those into consideration. And then there are things we all need. So this doesn't have to be one of those things where you're a purist and you're like, well, because I don't like this one thing, I don't like any of it. You're going to have to let that go if we're going to be able to move as an industry. And moving as an industry is the only way you get things done. To your point, someone's got $100 million, you got your little $5. You need to be friends.
100 million and
You,
five.
you need to be friends, right? In that room, in the room where things move. You don't got to be friends outside of that,
Sure.
but
Agreed.
you
Right.
need to use each other's strengths.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
think what happened is the commonalities. We
Yeah.
all need banking. Hemp can't have banking and cannabis not have banking.
Yeah.
We have to have the same opportunities for economic
That's it.
growth.
Yeah.
That's
We have to have those. So again, that means rescheduling.
Or just
that means opening
educate.
up the banking systems, allowing business operators to have access to small business loans. Again, if we're really talking about one plant, one vibe, one sound, it needs to be comprehensive.
Yep.
Right.
And cannabis, unfortunately, has been that ugly stepchild in the center that no one is cared about for neglect of an abusive parent.
Yeah, but I
So
think
we need currently to say, hey, if we're all going to be together, then let's look at the commonality. Why can't cannabis have regular banking access?
and I think the difference, though, between what happened in 2018 and now is that I believe almost everyone who is elected has some family member, friend, or foe that is now consuming cannabis, whether it's for true medicinal purposes or I just got to relax purposes. They know someone that is using it for
Wellness.
And ideally, I think if we go back to the conversation and say, okay, let's pull out a little chart and say, this is cannabis. This is the cannabinoids. Here's the spectrum. If you weren't hungry before and you're hungry now, no, are you blitzed out your mind to the point you can't drive? But that was a psychoactive change. You were not hungry before. You're hungry now. That is a psychoactive effect. We have to just take it back to rudimentary science here and help legislation understand, help the people understand, because it became a fight when it should have become a point of clarity that marijuana or the psychoactive properties, which ones are we worried about? Let's really focus. Okay, you don't want me to drive and have certain experiences, because if it's really about psychoactive properties, then we know across the board there are several cannabinoids that are covered under the hemp side that have psychoactive properties also included in the wellness conversation, but what they just shut down and took away are all the health benefits.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's a lot of complicated aspects of it, definitely from a scientific aspect, but from this bill, we have a lot to break down, and we have a guest today that is an expert in this space. She has been fighting cannabis legislation and really trying to get this industry that we're clearly complaining about in the right direction. And I'm sure she has a lot to say about this bill and be able to bring so much more insight. Please welcome. We are back with Flowers and Tea, and we have the incredible lobbyist, Miss Jackie Ferraro. How are you doing today?
Hello. It's so nice to be here with you ladies. Thank you for having me. I'm hanging in there.
We've been
In
talking
this
about
cannabis space. I mean, that's really all you can do.
That's all. It's crazy, right? It's like a roller coaster. And speaking of, we've been talking about this new bill, SCORE. Let's see, STAC 4779. It has a lot of complications in it. Can you give us a little bit of breakdown? And do you feel like it's going to have any traction? I mean, there's a lot of bills out there.
Yeah, sure. There are certainly a few bills that I'm tracking myself as well, amongst other advocates and operators. But this particular bill basically abolishes the CRC. Puts it under, the CRC is under Treasury. Okay. This would take it under the AG department. Okay. And SCORE is the division of basically cannabis oversight, regulation, and enforcement. That's what SCORE represents. And it would definitely change the landscape in many different ways. It would have, the director of SCORE would be chosen by the governor, who would obviously need it to be consent by the Senate. It wouldn't change much in terms of the regulations. So everything, the licensing, the operators, the current regime and structure would just basically get transferred over. Okay. But, now you have law enforcement. To your point earlier, you have law enforcement who would be looking at this, which could be a little, discerning for like a lot of people, concerning in a way that operators that are doing the right thing, what if they get violations? Is there going to be some flexibility if there's an oversight on their front? But the good news is, if there's any good news at all, is that being under the AG's department, they'll have arresting powers and powers to implement any violations for those gas station weed, smoke shops that sell products, the intoxicating hemp products. So that could clean up that part. But in my humble opinion, I don't believe this bill has any traction, much traction, which would be good news, because then we continue on the way we're regulating things, but add some tweaks, which is a Senate President Scutari has in place. That his bill, if you want to pivot, unless anyone has any questions, we can certainly pivot over to what Scutari's trying to accomplish, which just tweaks the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. It also allows medical dispensary licenses, which is great news, to go into the adult market. Now, it's going to depend on if there's any pushbacks from the town that haven't opted into adult use, but you have a medical operator who could be, minority, social equity, and now they have the ability to flip to adult use. But what does the town think now? So there's some things to look out for on this front, this particular bill. It also loosens up some regulations for the commissioners. I know they're looking at allowing them to enter into the space, their families enter into the space if so chose, raise some salaries at the commission level. But I think the most exciting part on Senate President Scutari's bill is the medical going to adult, which we need. It could also, I would like to see some language, and I'm sure some of the retailer operators here would agree, that has a moratorium on accepting retail licenses. Like, even if it's 2 years, maybe something we all come together and say, hey, what do we propose to the legislators on this? How do we tweak this a little further where, hey, say June 1st, 2026, I'm totally making this up. Any applications that aren't in the queue, well, get your application in the queue if you want to operate in New Jersey. It can also shake some trees, no pun intended, on those towns that are like, we opted out. They're putting a moratorium. Maybe we should consider looking at our ordinance and opting in. And this way there's other opportunities available for the licenses that are swirling around right now, looking for homes in towns that have opted out. Right. So a lot going on.
Right. That's a lot.
Jackie, I have a question. So I have the pleasure of working with you through Ascend, which is amazing. Likewise. And you always bring so much insight. I'm curious, as we were talking about collaboration and, the needs of the industry holistically, you have the opportunity to work with both small and big business alike. Mm-hmm. Where are some of the commonalities that you're seeing in terms of what we need as an industry, and where do you think there's opportunities for deeper collaboration, right, to get together?
Great questions. And I don't think any of us have all the answers. Mm-hmm. I think communication, coming together, and really listing. I know we spoke about this offline, a few of us here, but coming together, what are our top 10 or even our top 5 desires that is good for everybody? I definitely think the cap on licensing is very important, in my humble opinion. It'll shake some trees and do a little pivoting in the industry, I think, for the good. I also think advertising. I was at a birthday celebration last night, and I'm driving home on Route 80, which crosses northern New Jersey, and I see this billboard. I just see THC, and it's from Total Wine, right? But all I see is THC, and I'm driving like, whoa, wait, what did I just see here? Right. So we need to have an even playing field. Yes. We know the cannabis operators some of them put in their communion money. Some of them put in every penny that they have. Yes. And the pain and the amount of years it takes to cross the finish line just to be able to open your doors, let alone operate, right? We talked about this. Yes. It's very painful. So to have folks that can just put billboards up and haven't gone through the pain, right, and the struggles over the years to just be able to operate in this business. Yeah. So I think advertising, we loosen up some advertising for the cannabis industry here in New Jersey would be great. And there's a few other items, but those would be my go-tos off the top of my head.
Yes, makes perfect sense to me.
Absolutely. So Jackie, you come from a political family. How has that really helped shape your policy views growing up and creating like this phenomenal women that we see here today? That must have been quite a background and experience.
Well, I am honored to be amongst badasses here. I respect all of you, and I honor your opinions and your insight for sure, and I think that's important. I come from corporate sales for many years. That's where I started. But I did volunteer early on in my late teens. And that's kind of, I got this flavor of politics. And I didn't really pay attention because, great, Congress, politics. It didn't really mean anything to me at the time. But as I started evolving, not only in my career, I left corporate America officially in 2023, but was moonlighting in this industry since 2017. It allowed me to revisit relationships I've built just personally, just friendly relationships of legislators and mayors, council folks, etc. And so really just being honest, that's what I learned. So my late uncle was very, he had grit, he had grind, and he was honest, and he was very passionate. And so just watching him, lead by example, I just learned, just be honest, not sugarcoat anything. And I think just, especially with legislators, here are some of the consequences that should take place. We really got to look at this, a lot more closely. And so I think I think that's probably the biggest learning lessons over the years. Obviously, be respectful, right? You're as a lobbyist on the Hill, right? You know what comes with that. There's ways to speak to legislators that don't make them feel like that you know more than them, although they probably know you know more than them. Right. But especially with this complex industry, there's so many different levels, and so I think just coming together and being one voice too, because in Trenton in particular, when there are bills in committee, which these bills are in committee currently right now, and really would encourage, I know we'll be working together on it in New Jersey, just keeping an eye on these bills and showing up in Trenton.
Yes, so important.
Over the years, right, early on years, it happened all the time. Like there was maybe a dozen or so of us that were just advocates volunteering for good policy, sourcing for best practices. And now it's like everybody is stressed, and operators especially are so stressed to stay above water.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
just
they
trying
don't
to
have
get their
time.
businesses kicked off. They're like, what? I got to go to Trenton? And it's no slight, but it's a lot. But I think our collective voices should really come together in Trenton in person so we can talk to our legislators in a way that makes sense.
Can you even just give a little insight as to what an actual lobbyist is? I know Gretchen does this more on the federal level, but there's a difference between federal lobbying, state lobbying. Can you just explain to the audience what a lobbyist is as a job?
Absolutely. So I wear a few different hats in the space. I am a paying lobbyist, a certified lobbyist, I should say. So I'm registered to lobby, but it really helps influence bills, the change of the bills at the local levels and state levels. You know, legislation in New Jersey has been interesting because you want to do it with folks that are living the business or living the rules and regulations and how they're being affected by it. So advocacy is where I encourage just coming together in one voice, bringing some folks down to Trenton. Hey, let's meet in Trenton. Let's talk at this committee. Let's testify. Let's share our collective voice. I think we need to do a little bit more of that. And by the way, this is for all of us, and me included. I think that'll help, especially in these next few weeks in lame duck. There's a bill that, Lagana's bill, that is looking to meet the hemp bill, fill in the gaps that the hemp bill doesn't cover. We know that it really, the gate stops at the farm for the current hemp program in New Jersey. They don't do the finished goods under the current hemp program here. So this bill, Lagana's bill, would fill in some gaps that would allow that. And so we really got to put our heads together because they're moving fast on this. It may have some traction, this particular bill. I don't know about the abolishment of the CRC. I'm hearing that it doesn't really have too much traction, which is good news because I know we're a little panicked about that, as we should be, because it changes just so much.
And I want to add to the lobbyist question, because I know that lobbyist is such a dirty word, that I don't think people also understand that we are like the number one educators to lawmakers. And I mean, maybe that sounds like I'm spinning a little, but truly, these guys cannot be experts at everything. Trust me, they're not experts at the cannabis space. And so when it comes in to influence them on a piece of legislation, it's because it does this, this, and this for operators. This is what it means. And so lobbyists are really the front lines of really trying to help lawmakers understand what's going on. So it's important.
Lobbyists and advocates, right?
Yeah.
Like the legislators learn from lobbyists and advocates.
And we're connectors. I mean, like, I'll be like taking you to Washington. Here is a dispensary owner. She can tell you firsthand what went into opening her business. Here's a farmer. Here's, folks who work on the distribution side. They don't speak to these people. They don't know where to meet them. They don't know what to do. So when you put them right in front of them, it's so much more helpful to them, especially when they're a constituent and they're like, oh, wait, you might vote for me. You might have 10 employees who will vote for me. I want to hear what you have to say.
So it's a funnel. It's a funnel of information, and essentially, and this is really important for the viewers to understand, right? The funnel of information. You just said I can't leave my store all the time to go down to Washington, to go down to Trenton, and then there's you're an operator. How many more operators? But when we have that one sort of figurehead, and I think where the problem comes in with Black and Brown folks is that our communities for advocacy don't have the money to spend on a figurehead. But if we did start to band together and talk about the bigger companies with their resources, bring that, you get all the people that are the doers and the ones affected, and we bring the story with you. You come and you're our front line, and now we're passing that message to folks that we got to understand these politicians, they have a million issues that they're dealing with. And if they don't have a personal connection, to Jasmine's point, you know, with like having someone who's consumed or whatever, they are dealing with price of drugs, medicine, cannabis, SNAP. I mean, we talk about the list on and on.
Sure, that's right.
The point is that we have to make our voices heard, and sometimes we don't always have the resources to be that voice, so we have to come together with those who are in the professionalized space that understand how to get this message, and that's what we are doing here. The table is set, and we are ending the year strong. We're going into 2026, and trust and believe that we are gonna get this done. Right, ladies? Yes. All right.
You would be
So
remiss
please-
to leave without your own prediction for New
Oh,
Jersey.
yes, please.
2026. What are your thoughts?
That's a
Final
great
prediction.
question. I predict that this bill that abolishes the CRC will not happen.
Okay, prediction
So
number
going into
one.
26. I think there could be something with Scutari's bill that tweaks, but if we can get some more language in for the dispensaries, putting a moratorium on dispensary applications and the advertising, that would be great. Maybe we have something a little bit more than we have now.
All right, well, we are going to see, fingers crossed for progress. That's what we're looking for. So we will see you all in 2026. This is Flowers and Tea. Until next time.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
Yes!
Thanksgiving.
Press that button, baby.